we're gonna make a medicinal ghee. Okay, I love ghee. And, you know, just kind of like every other medium in my kitchen, what do you think I do with it? Right? I add herbs. And actually, ghee is a great delivery mechanism for the medicinal properties of herbs. Ghee is actually a carrier substance. It carries the healing constituents of the plants deeper into the body. And it's considered to nourish all tissues. It helps the body to absorb many healing qualities of the herbs while adding, you know, a wealth of variation and rich flavor to whatever you're eating. And as my husband Michael says, anything tastes good with ghee on it. He loves ghee. So you can start making your own herbal ghee blends, and soon, I mean, the condiment aisle at the grocery store will pale in comparison to the creative flair of your pantry at home. And so, you know, ghee, it doesn't go rancid. You can leave it out on the counter, and when you cook with it, it's one of the best oils for baking and sauteing, one of the best fats. It has a high smoke point, which means it doesn't burn. And actually in my book, The Herbal Kitchen, I have a step-by-step directions for how to make ghee. And I taught it for many, many years to my students, and it takes time. It does take time. And everybody always loved the idea of making their own ghee. People would be like, oh yeah, I want to do that, I want to do that. But it's one of those things that I noticed that I saw in actuality, people didn't do it that much, right? It's kind of like that, what I say, there's a lot of good remedies out there, but what do people actually use? And so you might make your own ghee, that is awesome. But as far as which techniques to go over here, the making ghee demonstration did not pass the usability test. So ghee, what it does is it increases digestive fire, it improves absorption and assimilation, it actually lubricates the connective tissue. It, again, like I said, it carries the medicinal properties of herbs throughout the body. It's considered an activator or a delivery medium, right? So many constituents in the herbs are increased in bioavailability when taken with like a honey or a fat source like ghee. And so, especially with turmeric, there are a lot of fat-soluble constituents, and so this is good. Putting it in ghee is good. So you can make this ghee, you can put it in your oatmeal, you can put a little in your coffee or your tea. You can put it onto whatever breakfast food, you can put it on top of your eggs, and it will actually activate your digestive fire in the morning. Even if you just put a little teaspoon into your breakfast some way. Ghee is also, it's very lubricating and nutritive for the nerves. So if you're cold and shaky and nervous, add a little ghee to your tea in the morning. It's very grounding and nutritive and nourishing for your nervous system, right? And yeah, it increases your digestive energy and enzymes. So it'll help calm you down and help you digest your breakfast. So ghee is actually considered a rejuvenative tonic. And so, yeah, it's also, it's delicious. So we are looking at turmeric as an anti-inflammatory, right? And inflammation is one of the culprits in our degenerative diseases such as arthritis. And turmeric comes out really on top for reducing inflammation and also aiding in like muscle and joint recovery. And there's a constituent in turmeric called curcumin, which has very potent anti-inflammatory properties. And again, you know, inflammation, it's a normal process that occurs when your body is like exposed to foreign bacteria or viruses, you know, and your body sends out, you know, all the white blood cells and the antibodies to counter infection. But what happens is that, you know, when there's excessive inflammation, when the body keeps reacting, this inflammation can lead to pain, swelling, redness, heat. And, you know, and then as inflammation goes on and on, if you don't address the root cause of the inflammation, then the inflammation becomes self-sustaining. And so, you know, inflamed tissue creates more inflammation. And then that low-grade inflammation in the body, it kind of oxidizes your tissue, and it just kind of bakes and cooks and overheats everything, and you end up with asthma, allergies, heart disease, brain problems, you know. So you want to get to the root cause of underlying excessive inflammation in the body. And we're not going to just use turmeric to do that. But it is anti-inflammatory and added in little bits in your food. The curcumin actually has a volatile oil that inhibits the synthesis of prostaglandins, inflammatory prostaglandins, right? So it does help with arthritis, tendinitis, sprains, strains, bumps, bruises, joint pain, joint swelling, tenderness, right? As well as kind of like stiffness. No wonder people think like they want to take it every day all the time, right? So, but it has an anti-inflammatory and blood-moving circulatory stimulant quality that really, that gets into the body, right? So that gets into the joint spaces. Really, you can see why it's known as an arthritis herb or spice. So it's good for joint health. It reduces inflammation in the joints, and really the best way is in small amounts in your food. And if you want to take it long term, make sure you're looking at all the other areas, right? It also helps to reduce inflammation in the gut, right? And the inflammatory problems that we have in our gut that keep us from absorbing our food, right? So it helps to reduce gut inflammation. And so, yeah, it's a pretty powerful spice, right? So we're gonna get it into our food, really safe and simple way, and we're gonna make some medicinal ghee. So this is, we use plain ghee, but like I said, I like to get herbs into, I like herbs. Obviously. All right, so this recipe is very, very simple. So we're going to use a cup of ghee. So I'm going to put my ghee, get a cup of my ghee in here. So you can see. And again, the ghee doesn't need to be refrigerated, right? You can mix this up and stir this up and just leave it out on the counter. And you can leave it next to the stove and you can cook with it. All right, so there's your ghee. All right, so in here I'm going to put, of course, some turmeric, right? And I'm going to put in a tablespoon of turmeric. And I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of coriander. Coriander is known as it's also an amazing carminative, anti-inflammatory, digestive aid, but it's the amalgamating spice. It's the spice that kind of like ties the sweet and savory, well, that's a little more than 2 tablespoons. It kind of ties the sweet and savory spices together. And so it's a really nice thing to add when you're using like spicy things and sweet things. Okay, ginger. We're going to put in a teaspoon of ginger. And we're going to put in some cinnamon. Okay, so we're going to put in a little teaspoon of cinnamon here. All right, now what I want to do is just mix all this together. Now, once you get this all mixed together, you just leave it out. You just leave it next to the stove and, yep. Mix this together well. All right. And then you can just, wherever you use butter or wherever you use fat, you can just put a teaspoon, put a tablespoon. Like I said, you can put a teaspoon into your coffee. You can, you could just take a teaspoon and put it into like a pot. So let's say you're going to make some rice. You just put a teaspoon in here and heat it up and then start your rice or your quinoa or whatever grain you're making. You can add a teaspoon to your oatmeal. It's a great beginning of a stir fry, any kind of stir fry, and also for veggies because you've got the fat and then you've also got these amazing spices in here that just kind of turn any meal into an amazing flavor. You can see it's a little bit cool here this morning, so the ghee is a little stuffy. But yeah, we just take our time, mix it all together, and then what you do is you just put the lid on. Now the problem with ghee is that if it's right next to your stove, you don't want to double dip. You don't want to put the spoon, mix the spoon with something else and then put it back into the ghee, because then you'll introduce bacteria and moisture. If you keep other bacteria and moisture out of your medicinal ghee, it's good for a year for sure. So there you have your medicinal ghee.